think if I had to summarize it, it would be high highs and low lows. There were super cool moments of obviously seeing people come to know the Lord and get involved for the first time, or even seeing the church grow at all. And those things were really, really exciting. But there were also really, really hard days. People leaving, best friends, abandoning you, all those things were certainly a part of some of those early days.
Yeah, I think I would describe it as hard, but God was faithful. I think, very, very little about the experience was easy, so to speak. I mean, everything was difficult, but God has been faithful the entire time.
There were lots of moments at Aletheia, both good and challenging. But getting to see the church grow was really it was unique. It was a new experience for us.
There's so many memorable moments, including just baptisms, the testimonials that would be given during those times, including people talking about their struggles with homosexuality, struggles with their confessions, their atheism. It was definitely encouraging, and then also the breadth of these testimonials, not simply just being that I was raised in the church and my entire life, but also just like that here's all the things that God had done in their lives. It was very encouraging.
And we went that first week because everyone was just so encouraging and pushing us to be with them.
It was unique to have an actual pastor coming, evangelizing. That's not that common. So for me, it just piqued my interest. So I started coming after that.
So the second week we were there, we actually just looked at Acts 29 churches, or what churches were affiliated with the network. And that's how we decided to go.
You're sitting there having church service and Sweeney Todd sat sitting behind you with blood splattered all over the walls. But just those doors opening up in space and things was just pretty awesome.
Yeah, so the first Sunday we were meeting downtown at the Hippodrome was awesome because, we are spending time going on campuses, talking to people, developing relationships with people, sharing the gospel with people, and to see people start to respond and start to come and start to not only just come to even Sunday services, but really start to be a part of the community that God was using us to create, that he was bringing people into, that was awesome. It was exciting. I loved every second of it.
You just could not get to church or get to service without passing by almost everybody, because we're meeting in this tiny little room and you want to arrive earlier because if they're already starting worship and you enter, you are opening a door, shining light into a dark room to the side of the stage. So everybody will turn, everybody will know. But then everybody will say hi to you after because they know who you are. And you might not know who they are, but you'll soon know. So yeah, that kind of community and opportunity was really, really special.
So we always did fun things like that. We hung out not only at church. It wasn't just you went to the church building, you did stuff, and then you did Bible study once a week or small group. We did more than that. We hung out.
I think another foundational worldview is the way community groups transformed into gospel communities, living life together on mission. I've never been at another church that does it the way we do it. That the point of the community group or the gospel community isn't just to have a Bible study. It's not just fellowship. It's not just to get to know people, but it's a combination of all of those, living life together in gospel community. And so I think that's a foundational worldview that has shifted in my 10 years here.
But our small group would probably be like one of the most encouraging things that happened for us as a family while we were there. Even though we were small in number, those relationships are still one of the things that I treasure the most.
Community in my mind was this foundational thing that was needed, but I don't know if I fully experienced real Christian community until to the degree it could be until Aletheia.
By faithfully following God's, direction to even plant that church, and all those early members who, joined, that there was formative relationships built there.
Being able to meet up with different people, including Kevin, in order to confess sin or because I needed encouragement or counseling, that was something it's just unique. It's unique.
When I got plugged in with discipleship, that's when I started making like my first friends, and so I met people like Holly and Lauren and Myra. So that was really memorable for me because that was like beginning of like my little group. I also got married, so that's pretty memorable too.
Hi, that's me.
I mean, from the highs and the lows, I remember the Kreiners showing up 15 minutes after Georgia was born with my postpartum meal that I'd been missing for 9 months. I also remember some horrible phone calls from Jackie, and jumping in to help with whatever she needed when Josiah was really struggling at the beginning of his life. And I think knowing, especially being so far from home, and just truly having the friends that are family, the church family, and really feeling like that's what it was a beautiful thing.
As the church matured, so did the challenges, right? I mean, it goes from the logistical challenges of where are we going to meet or what ministry are we going to tackle to how are we making sure that we're serving everyone that's coming out, because I think the church is probably very similar in its demographics in that we've had college students and older couples and young married couples. We had big families, small families. We had at some point there were folks coming out that were homeless or had mental health issues, and so trying to figure out how to meet all the needs of the people who God had brought to this local body.
Being at Aletheia for the last 10 years has been an adventure. There have been great moments. There have been times of weeping. We've seen one of the hardest things is we've seen a lot of people leave. And as a church, we've had to learn and grow and adapt, knowing that we're in a transient community that every 3 or 4 years, a good portion of our population graduates, finishes their grad school, and moves on.
That just every time somebody would leave, it felt like you left a big hole. And it's like, Lord, what are you doing? Like, we lost people in different, important positions, leadership positions of the church. And so I did worry, but you know what? God always provides. When the church belongs to God, God provides people to run that church. And I just love to see how through the years, God has been really faithful to Aletheia and the church has grown.
For people that have been around for a while, they know that I use this line consistently, but it's not some just made up line. It's literally in the DNA of the church. This church exists despite us, and I truly, truly believe that. I mean, there's a lot of mistakes we made, like just from like a pragmatic standpoint, ministry-wise. There was leadership mistakes made, non-leadership mistakes made, a really, really difficult season for you and our family and for our kids. And
we had
the
no
church
money.
we had no money. The church was young.
All sorts of things.
But at the same time, God was super faithful during that season. As a matter of fact, I think that season, more than just about any other, was where I realized, like, hey, okay, like, God's for sure behind this thing. Because when we were at our absolute low, the body of Christ rose to the occasion big time during that season. And it was really beautiful to see. And it was, this weird mix of really, really hard, but simultaneously really, really liberating. Mm. Yeah.
God met us in the midst of every single challenge and showed us what to do, how to do it, and helped us overcome to I think grew us in the process.
One of the things that we really needed was a bunch of chairs, because people like to sit down when they're at church instead of stand up the whole time, especially when Kevin's preaching. So one of the things we did was challenge the students to buy a chair and then buy a chair for a friend. And we were hoping that, maybe we'll get half the money that we need to purchase the 200 and something chairs that we needed to purchase. And it wasn't 4 to 6 weeks that the entire money for all of the chairs was raised, mainly by the students. And I was really blessed to see, God provide for us at every step of the way and every transition that we made, from the Hippodrome to the school and lots of things that we had to do in between. It was always amazing to see God work.
It just means a lot to me to see what's happened in Colombia, to see what how our small church of students, student church in Gainesville, Florida, a university town, how we were able to impact so many lives down in Colombia, and have see the church grow that we planted. And it's just been, I'm so thankful for that, and I'm so thankful for the pastors and the elders and the members of Aletheia for keeping that commitment and continuing with that commitment with Colombia.
I mean, yeah, so for starters, we planted a church in a country that we didn't know anybody in. Like, it's been really funny talking to people over the years, typically, especially being a part of Acts 29, they ask us, we're churches that plant churches, and we believe in that mission and are committed to that mission with Acts 29. But sometimes we'll get asked, like, how did you guys do that? It's just like,
God did it.
God did it. We just came along for the ride and tried to serve and be faithful, and are now trying to help see other churches started in Colombia.
One of the things that made the church different for us was watching people who were not necessarily in the limelight follow through with their command, right, to take the gospel to everyone. And that meant the person who walked in the door, who sat by themselves. That meant the person who was maybe inconvenient, right, to love, right? They were harder to love.
They want people to be involved. They want people to want to learn new things, and they allow you to do it where so many other places there's a person that's paid to do it and no one else can touch it. But Aletheia was always a place that if you wanted to serve somewhere, the answer was always yes.
It was almost kind of like this vibrant atmosphere where we were meeting people who were living out the gospel in different ways, and it kind of challenged you to do the same, to make your faith kind of come alive.
And for me, it would kind of be like with my walk with the Lord, honoring community. Just really loving people and coming alongside them to just kind of really understand what true fellowship is. It's really important, and the church does it really well. So,
just recognizing that as one who has been a part of Aletheia for so long, and just having this opportunity, it really kind of encourages me to continually stay in the Word and to learn how to encourage others on a individual basis.
But Aletheia really set a solid foundation for doctrine and opened my eyes on a lot of things.
I feel like it was easy for me to get caught up in the knowledge aspect of the word, but it was really reiterated at Aletheia that needs to translate to your heart and eventually to your hands as well. It can't just be the head knowledge, whatever's in your mind.
Being in Aletheia Junior in the new physics building with our two kids, Gideon and Nathaniel, who were both 1 and 2 at the time, I think, or something like that, to then seeing Gideon get baptized.
That was pretty cool to see all these young people loving the Lord and growing.
I feel like Aletheia has gone beyond what I thought it would be when I first came. And we are what the Bible calls us to be, which is the church, challenging people to be the church in their everyday lives.
There were a number of things that I think we could probably highlight that would say, how amazing, our time was there, but it was special. Definitely special.